76 people detained, and Tuesday's ICE operation in Omaha are now.
The Center for Immigrant and Refugee Advancement tells us 63 of those in custody were transferred from the DHS processing center to a detention center in Nebraska. We don't know which detention center that is. Sierra says 11 others detained were either deported or sent elsewhere for processing. The organization is working to provide the detainees with legal support.
The ICE operation happened at Glen Valley Foods. That's near 67th and J.
First Alert 6's Andrew Pfeiffer has followed this story since it first broke on Tuesday. Andrew, what else did you learn today?
Brian, Aaron, the DOJ says they haven't made any decisions yet on criminal charges, calling it an active and ongoing investigation. In a statement, they explained how this investigation unfolded. They say this started when Homeland Security conducted an audit of Glen Valley to see if employee documents were valid. The DOJ tells me the audit started earlier this year. We're told the audit revealed a large number of suspected fake IDs and some social security numbers that appeared to have been stolen from U.S. citizens. The statement goes on to say Homeland Security had received complaints from many of those victims before the investigation even began. And during the raid Tuesday, federal authorities detained 76 people. We know they've referred several criminal allegations to the DOJ, but again, we're waiting on a decision about charges for those who were detained. Meanwhile, the Heartland Worker Center tells me the ICE operation is stalling the Omaha economy.
What happens then is that we have paralyzed people not being able to, choosing not to leave their homes, choosing not to engage in the economy, choosing not to go to work. So the consequences now, what happens if 30% of the workforce does not show up into their construction site, right? There are real consequences for this paralysis that is happening in the community.
The center acts as an information safe haven for affected families. It provides answers and presents options for people to ensure everyone is aware of their rights. So far, 2,000 of these papers have been handed out. It lists many vital resources for those affected by these ICE operations. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Andrew Pfeiffer, First Alert 6.
Andrew, thanks for that update.